Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, March 1st, Sequestration Day, 2013. Well, to say that the hype and the spin and the drama and the panic is overdone and overblown is an understatement. I mean, the mainstream media should be ashamed of itself for pounding this idea home that we can never have any budget cuts. People will lose their jobs. Why don't they look at what happens if we don't have any cuts? A dollar sell-off, a dollar rout, a bond market blow-up, another market meltdown, the U.S. losing its world reserve currency status, but all the, pencil-necked, tiny-brained geeks in the mainstream media can only talk about all the damage the budget cuts will do. And where do they think we're going to get that money? Everybody likes to spend money. Nobody likes cuts. I mean, think about this. Simpson-Bowles, the bipartisan commission to look at debt reduction in the next 10 years, the Democrat, the Republican, they came up with $4 trillion about $4 trillion in budget cuts and tax increases, and more budget cuts and tax increases. And that just slowed the growth of government. And what do we have? $600 billion in tax increases over the next 10 years, about $1 trillion in spending cuts, mandatory now, over the next 10 years. That's what, a third of what Simpson-Bowles was? It's the proverbial drop in the spending bucket. We have, what, a $3.6 or $3.8 trillion in spending. I can't say we have a $3.6 or $3.8 trillion budget because we have no budget. It's nothing. It's no money. And actually, the sequestration is probably the best thing that could happen to slow the amount of growth. At least a little. Maybe it'll stave off a credit downgrade that many people say is coming no matter what. A credit downgrade is coming. And hey, check this out. That's just one battle. We have another battle coming up in May about the debt ceiling being increased. The debt ceiling. Again, everything put out there just slows the growth of government. We don't have a balanced budget, which we should. I mean, we're only taking in $2.5 trillion and we're spending $3.8 trillion. Unsustainable. It's unbelievable that it's not only is it unsustainable, we're going to have a calamity, a meltdown, a proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back, a black swan that could take us under if we don't get control of our budget. And the sequestration fight has gotten ugly. I mean, the Obama administration, ICE, let loose detainees that were lawbreakers that were supposed to be deported and let them loose in the public. We don't have any money. Of course, the White House says they had nothing to do with that. Yeah, they had nothing to do with that when it blew up in their face and people were angry as hell about, you put what? Criminals on the street that could rape or kill somebody or do something bad to somebody to make a political point? And then Bob Woodward, the famous Woodward and Bernstein, the people that basically brought down Richard Nixon for Watergate, he came out and being an actual journalist, I can't believe it, criticized the president and said things like, in this sequestration deal, the budget cuts, you moved the goalpost by asking for more tax increases. He also said that that the president couldn't deploy an aircraft carrier, and that's just he's saying that madness. His words, that he hasn't seen in a long time. The White House is hotter than a hornet, madder than a wet hen. Basically, it's been reported by Woodward saying that somebody in the White House, high-ranking official in the White House, said you would regret taking this position. You think his mainstream media buddies are rallying around the guy that brought down Nixon? I mean, this guy's hardly a right-winger, Fox News aficionado. I mean, he brought down Nixon. Think anybody's backing him up saying, yeah, the president did move the goalpost. And you know what? The mainstream media, the media in general, should be fact-checking and running down leads and not spin doctoring for this or any other administration, Republican or Democrat. Period. The end. That's what the media is supposed to do. Be a watchdog. Fact check. Is that true? Hold their feet to the fire. Keeping them honest. Oh, those are all, nice slogans put out there by, people out there in the mainstream media, which aren't true. And here's one for you. They just had Bernanke testifying in front of Congress. Why in the heck didn't anyone say, hey, Mr. Bernanke, you're spending $40 billion a month, officially, that's the official number by the Fed, to buy the mistakes of bankers. This stuff was supposed to be rated AAA. It was supposed to be equal to Treasury bills, which isn't saying much, but now it's toxic, and he's spending $40 billion a month. That's the official number. Some people say it's twice that much. Hey, well, let's just use their official number. That's almost $500 billion a year. That'd save a lot of jobs, wouldn't it? That'd put a lot of shoes on kids' feet, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that help Head Start? Wouldn't that help the military? $40 billion a month? Not a word. Not a question by either side of the aisle. Not a word. Oops. No. No, not a word. No question on, hey, what are you doing? Why are we doing that? Can't we cut that out? Hey, but let's say we transfer some of that money over to, so we can retrofit our aircraft carriers and upgrade them and whatever. How about that? No. Not a question, not a word, hardly a word about the absurdity of spending this much money to prop up our banking system, to prop up the economy. Because without this $85 billion a month, the economy would implode. Period. The end. And you know what? Nobody wants cuts. I mean, cuts are painful. Cuts are supposed to be painful. It's just maddening to me watching the mainstream media, how they are basically lapdogs for the administration. And when somebody like Woodward comes out and says, hey, I'm going to call BS on the BS. Huh? Oh, you're a victim? Unbelievable. Really, quite unbelievable. And another sign, a little tip of the iceberg of how the economy really is going, and it's not going well. Detroit is going to be taken over by the state of Michigan. That's a report. It's so bankrupt, so destitute, in so much trouble, it's got to be a ward of the state of Michigan, the city of Detroit. Now, do you think that they're going to turn that city around without some real cuts and real sacrifice? You know, they can't print money in the city of Detroit. Nobody's going to buy their bonds. That's a form of printing money. You think they're going to turn things around without some real sacrifice and real cuts? Huh? No. This is what's coming for America. And either America makes this decision on its own, or the markets will make the decision for them in a dollar calamity, a bond market sell-off in the Treasury market, a stock market rout, higher interest rates. I mean, there are so many nasty things that could happen if we don't get our fiscal house in order. And I think will happen because we won't get it in order. It's going to make the Great Depression look like a walk in the park. I mean, in the Great Depression, the dollar was never questioned around the world. We were a creditor nation. And the credit rating of the United States was never in question. How's that going today? Our credit rating, we were downgraded by S&P last year. I think another one's coming. How's the dollar doing? You know, lost about 40% since 2000, 30%. How's that going? That's what I'm talking about. And that's what has to be done. And yes, cuts and staying within your budget and living within your means. Yes, that's difficult. Yes, it is. Finally, I want to say something about gold. You know, this is not a gold site, and I am not a gold expert, but Jim Sinclair of JS Mindset surely is. And let me tell you something. He says that gold is on its way to $3,500 an ounce, that this is just noise. This is just positioning. This isn't a big deal. This is just jockeying for a position. And really, when you take a look at gold going down, and Bernanke just said, oh, yeah, we're going to keep printing money to infinity. Oh, yeah. He just testified and said they were going to keep doing that. And gold's going down? No, gold's not manipulated in any way, is it? No. Either treasuries, either it's the stock market, either it's the housing market with the suppression of interest rates. No, gold's not. No. Well, listen, Mr. Sinclair, who's made monster calls, provable, verifiable monster calls in the past, said back in 2002 that gold would go to $1,650 an ounce by January 14th, 2011. That's when gold was trading for about $360 an ounce. That was in like December of 2002. And, by June, he missed it a little, but not much. By June of 2011, it was trading for $1,650. Now, did he hit the dead center of the bullseye? No, but he was touching red. He was touching red. And he says gold's going to $3,500 an ounce and much, much higher. After all, they can't stop printing the money, according to Sinclair. Otherwise, the entire economy would implode. Another good thing to keep in mind, look at the rich people. They're buying gold and silver hand over fist. After all, it's on sale. And one other last thing, I was attacked and taken down last week, and there was a nice outpouring of people that wrote me emails and told me to not, stop doing what I'm doing. And a few people used the donation button. And actually, frankly, I got to tell you, we needed the help because it was expensive to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. We were down for 2 days, and I just want to thank everybody for their support and their donations. Thank you very much for supporting USA Watchdog. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter.